For the longest time, I didn't really listen to Radiohead's music, and it wasn't because I thought that their music was bad or I just didn't know about them. It was just because of presuppositions that I had in my mind about their band and their fans. If you're a Radiohead fan, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about to some extent. Basically, the memes that say that Radiohead fans are the most depraved, pessimistic, depressed people, and they are all virgins. And for the longest time, I let those opinions kind of shape my view around them, which is why whenever I would be on Spotify and they would come up in my feed. Typically, I would stray away from their music just kind of based on that. But a friend of mine encouraged me to listen to their music, and I'm glad I did because then I stumbled across their biggest and best song of all time. But then I stumbled across their album OK Computer, and I listened to a few songs on it trying to get a vibe for the music. And then a song came on named No Surprises. And the gentle lullaby-like guitar, chord progression, and disheartening lyrics led me to explore the song in its entirety. That's exactly what this video is about. I'll be breaking down the lyrics of the song line by line, analyzing the meaning behind each lyric, and attempting to uncover the story being told. This video will have some sensitive topics, as the song is a very dark one, so just giving a warning ahead of time. Without further ado, let's explore why No Surprises by Radiohead is sadder than you think. So right off the bat, we are introduced to a repetitive arpeggiated pattern. The guitar plays a soft finger-picked melody that feels very intimate and soft to the ears. Kind of makes the listener feel as if they are entering a space where nothing is being hidden. You'll also notice that the guitar loops its melody, and it can give the undertone that contributes to the sense of a loop or cycle. This matches the following lyrics of the song that deals with themes of frustration and yearning for escape. This kind of builds on this idea that the protagonist is in this cycle can't break free from. It gives the feeling of being trapped in a situation, and that makes it all the more damning. Now, regarding the opening lyrics, we are introduced to an individual who is clearly going through an emotional time in their life. The first line can imply that they are carrying burden, issues, or hardships, and it's been weighing them down for a while. It could show that tragedies have happened in their life and it is weighing them down. They might have been able to handle it in the past, but now it's getting to a point where they just can't take it anymore. The second line, a job that slowly kills you, can be interpreted in many different ways. It can mean it in a literal sense, that the job that the individual is working is detrimental to their physical health and that they are actively harming themselves by keeping that job. It could also mean that the job is killing them in a sense that they are suffering extreme mental anguish by continuing to subject themselves to the job that they are unhappy with. It could also be interpreted in a more general sense, that they are in a state of monotony, doing the same thing over and over and over again until they eventually die. And out of these three, I don't think that there's necessarily one that is better than one another. The third line in the intro chorus, bruises that won't heal, implies that the burdens of this individual's life have scarred them beyond repair, and that these are wounds that they have been carrying and will likely be carrying for the rest of their life. It gives background to how this individual has been feeling hopeless, hurt, and tired. I think that the first three lines, in combination with the gentle loop of the guitar, really do a great job at setting the atmosphere and introducing us to somebody who is hurting. You look so tired. So the line, "You look so tired, unhappy," is probably one of the most damning lines in the song. And here's why. This is not something that the protagonist is stating. It's rather something that is being said to them, perhaps from an acquaintance, coworker, or friend. It is a stated observation on this individual's appearance or demeanor, and they comment that, but they don't offer any sort of resolution or help. If the protagonist was doing their best to conceal the fact that they were hurting, as many people do, then that would pretty much perpetuate their struggles even more, because then that tells them that their pain is now visible to others, which a lot of people don't want it to be. They try to conceal it as much as possible, internalize much of it, but now they're at a point where they can't even keep it in themselves, and now other people can see it. The next two lines are also interesting as well. The protagonist is likely disaffected with how the government treats people like themselves, people that are struggling with serious mental health issues. And typically people in these situations that can't take care of themselves likely look for the people in charge. They look up to them for them to help them out. The combination of these three lines could also be seen as an entendre, criticizing society's approach to handling mental health issues. Basically, that people are very quick to comment and criticize on other people's issues, but they don't offer any sort of help or helping hand in that matter. This verse altogether, I believe, just builds on this character who is struggling, and it is now clear to others that there is something wrong with them, but they are alone. Alone from their peers and alone from the government that they despise.
I'll take a quiet life and shade.
There is a bit to unpack here. The line, "I'll take a quiet life," could imply that this individual has experienced the constant noise and pressure of daily life for an indefinite amount of time, and they've reached a point where they can no longer tolerate it. They fantasize about a life that is quiet, that isn't so fast-paced, and they yearn for something to change. The phrase, "a handshake of carbon monoxide," is strangely specific, and it seems that with how specific it is with carbon monoxide being the term that the protagonist is using, that it seems to be a contemplation of self-harm. This seems to suggest that the protagonist is not just seeking to get away from societal pressures, but that they're contemplating an ultimate permanent escape from life itself. This interpretation also allows us to reconsider the tone of the song's delivery. The gentle, soothing melody contrasts sharply with the darkness of these lyrics, amplifying the sense of emotional numbness. The protagonist doesn't scream or cry for help. Instead, they calmly accept their fate, as if the noise of life has worn them down to a point of complete silence. There are a few ways to interpret the chorus. The repeated line, "no alarms and no surprises," reinforces that this individual is longing for change, and that change is ambiguous. It could signify that they desire a life with peace and stability. It could suggest that the protagonist no longer feels able to engage with life actively and instead wishes to avoid it entirely. It could also imply a darker implication that when paired with the previous lyrics, this individual could reflect a desire for the quiet and final escape of death, where there are no more disruptions, no more alarms, no more surprises. It is such a brilliant chorus that I don't even really know how to interpret, because there's so many potential implications that I feel that you can probably have evidence for. These few lines begin the conclusion to the song, where the protagonist seems to be declaring the finality of their situation. The line, "this is my final fit," is an interesting one. The fit in this line could mean that this individual compares their hardships and emotional instability to that of a tantrum of a young child, which could be a form of self-sabotage if they truly view their emotions as immature and childish. And with them stating that this is their final fit, they're implying that they will no longer be having these emotional outcries for help in the future because they are considering the release of death. And it provides even darker undertones to the song as a whole. The final lines for this song are dark, and just like many of the other song's lyrics, this can be interpreted in a few ways. The lines, "such a pretty house and such a pretty garden," could mean that this protagonist is reflecting on their life, looking at all of these materialistic things, and realizing that none of that matters because they are still miserable, they're still hurting. None of their materialistic possessions have alleviated any of their pain. The second, more dark way to interpret the line is that this individual is dead or is dying, and these are visions that they're either having in heaven whenever they pass on to another life with a grand house and a garden, or if they are dying and they're hallucinating from the asphyxiation, it could be delusions that they're having in their head. So either this is a person who has a lot of possessions in their life and they've made it in the sense that they're successful, but they're still miserable, or they're dead and these are all visions in heaven, or they're hallucinating and delirious as the carbon monoxide slowly kills them. In the final chorus, "no alarms and no surprises" is repeated 3 times, along with a accompanying background vocal yelling, "get me out of here." Given the fact that these are the final lyrics to the song, I believe that they carry more weight. Obviously, this individual has been begging to get out of their situation and doesn't want to continue hurting anymore, and this repeated chorus is another outcry for the desire of change in their life. They want to get out of this self-destructive cycle where they are contemplating suicide, and the background vocals further reinforce this. And then the song loops back to the same guitar that it had started with, and the song ends. Overall, this song was just a roller coaster to try to analyze. The gentle lullaby-like nature of the song, accompanied with the haunting lyrics. It's just a tragic, desperate cry for help, and it's heartbreaking. This song alone has probably been the reason that I've been delving into a lot of Radiohead's discography, evidently as they were one of my last artists on Spotify Rewind last year. I think it's also opened my eyes to not be so judgmental based on the opinions of others or presuppositions that I might have about artists or TV shows or things like that. This song as a whole just tells one of the most heartbreaking stories that I think I've heard in a song, which is why I'm nerding out about it for all of you guys. So thank you for taking the time to watch my interpretation of one of my favorite and perhaps one of your favorite Radiohead songs. I'm glad to say that I no longer have those presuppositions about their band and their music and their fans, but I do find the memes funny. Thanks once again for watching. I haven't uploaded in over 2 years, but I'm going to try to pick this up as a hobby again. I miss creating content and sharing it with you guys, and I hope that I can continue to entertain and add value to your day. Peace out.